New Adobe Illustrator file, and this time we're going to name it last name underscore balance, and then we need to create 4 different artboards that measure 13.5 by 8 inches with 0.5 inches of space. So let's get started on that. Go over to Illustrator. I'm going to minimize this guy. Do File and New. Alright, so we've got it in the background here what we need to do. I'm just going to call it last name underscore balance. Number of artboards. We need to do 4 of those. So we go right, and then there's gonna be, they can be really in any order you want. I find them to when you arrange them by column to be best. So there we are. We got column. For spacing, do 0.5 inch. And then actually, you know what? I'm just thinking back here. I know it says 0.5 inch, but you might want to give a little bit more space if you have overlap of these different objects. So we're going to go ahead and give it 2 inches. I know it totally says 5 in there, but don't worry about it. So width, we want 13.5. And then height, we want 8. Alright. And then it says an 1/8 inch bleed. So we'll just pop that into 0.125. That'll give us that. And now we've got our 4 different images. Now the way that this works to navigate within them, we have down here, I'm just going to zoom in so you can see this a little bit better. We have all of this information there. These allow us to go between different artboards. So as I arrow back and forth, this number is changing. And I can also click on this downward arrow, and it'll give me a chance to go between any of these different artboards. Use my arrow here. So right now it's kind of hard to differentiate, but if we go back to the assignment, we see that the artboards should be organized in the following order. The first one should be a symmetrical balance. The second one should be approximate symmetrical. Third one radial, and the fourth one asymmetrical. By the way, the fourth one's going to be the most difficult to figure out. So, alright, let's go back here to the color arrangement. Alright, so we had talked about color harmonies in the previous project. Illustrator is a great program to deal with color. There's 3 different panels that we can play with. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those up now. We have the color guide, color, and swatches. And then there's a relationship between each one of these things. I'm going to select this leaf, and right now it's just as a black and white gradient. And I can, with this black and white, choose what level of black or white this is. But I have this pull down over here where I can change it from RGB, hue, saturation, brightness, CMYK. I find hue, saturation, brightness to be just the easiest way to navigate these different sliders, simply because we have our hue here, and then we can start getting into all of this other stuff. So once I turn the brightness up, then the colors will start to come out. Get the saturation going too. And so we have all the different hues of Roy-G-Biv up here. Let's say I want this to be a nice fall yellow. Alright. There we are. So we've got a nice yellow color there. So with this yellow, what I want to do now is pay attention to what's happening over in the color guide. So the sliders will get you to a specific color based on the 3 different tenets of a color. The color guide will give you the relationships of that color. So as I scroll up here, I can see I've got complementary systems. Of course, yellow and purple. And then as I've got that selected, I can see these are the yellow and purples tiles that I've got right here. As I go towards the right, I get to tints. As I go towards the left, I get to shades. Now the color guide is something that you can also mess with. We can have it show us from warm to cool, so that I can take yellow to the warm side or to the cool side. Same thing with purple. I don't find that nearly as helpful. And then I could do saturation as well, so it gets desaturated or heavily saturated. Tints and shades tend to be what I use the most here. Then we could also give yourself some options too. So if I want to have more steps between those variations, I can just come in here and increase those steps. So it gives me more options, and I like that as well. I gotta sneeze. Pardon me. Alright, so that's the color guide. I find it incredibly helpful to figure out different steps of color. One of the things that you'll be messing with quite a bit here is finding some colors and then working with them. Remember the color systems that we can play with. We can play with a complementary system, a monochromatic system, a split complementary system, a primary system, or a tetrad. A triad. I'm not a huge fan of tetradic systems, which are towards the bottom here, the tetrads. I find that it's kind of like a split complementary system, or I'm sorry, a double complementary system. For me, it doesn't really work as well. It's just my own personal opinion. Once you get above 3 colors, then it starts to look like a limited palette and not a color harmony. And so that's just what I'm thinking there. All right, so we've got the color guide. Now, how swatches are involved in all of this business. We have literally tons of different swatch colors. These are our default CMYK swatches, and you get some gradients in here and some different patterns. You get a grayscale and then just bright, kind of right out of the box crayon colors. But there's a ton of other colors down here. If you click on this little folder, it'll pop up this drop down of all these different options. And I always go to foods because I like food. I'm going to go ahead and this time go to nature and then foliage because I'm dealing with leaves. Alright. And so that gives us this new little flotilla. And as I drop down here, I see that there's a bunch of different color schemes. I want something that's a little bit more fall. Like these are great colors if I look through them. So I need a little bit more than just that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this folder right here, and that'll pop it into my swatches so that this new swatch will be saved with the file. So the next time I open it, that swatch is there. But I don't have to try to figure out where I pulled those colors from or any of that. I'm going to go ahead and pull both of those in. So I've got enough colors to deal with. Just close that guy out. I'm going to collapse these again, put them all in their same area, and then bring that back up here. Alright. So my swatches has all the colors that I like. I'm going to go ahead and go through and just very systematically put these colors down. That's fine, I'll leave it alone. Alright, cool. That's a nice kind of fall looking color scheme that I've got going on here. So I like all these colors, but I realize that it's not fall. I wanna change them up, and I want to change them all to spring. I could go through and do that manually like I just did, but what I'd rather do is introduce something called live color. To do that, I need to select everything. So to select all, I can come up here, select all, turn this on, or Command A. And now live color actually exists in a couple different locations. It exists in the color guide at the very bottom here. It's with this little edit or apply colors. And then also exists up here in our options bar, recolor artwork. And of course there's a drop down for it too. I'm going to go ahead and click on it here, and that pulls up this dialog. And so the way that this works is what we're seeing on the left hand side are all of the different colors that are in my document right now, and then I can transfer those by selecting a new color for them. So I have all these different colors I can choose from. I find that that's helpful, but what I'd rather do instead of just assigning colors is I'd rather edit them, and this is where it gets kind of neat. I see the whole entire color wheel, and I'm using a bit of a muted color right now. And I just mentioned to you that I want to take these all towards like buds and spring and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is click on one of these guys. When I select it, now I can move it around, and that's going to change the colors correspondingly. Now I can lock these down. I'm going to undo that last move. I guess I can't. I could cancel and go back into recolor. That'll undo it. I can lock these, And so now whatever I do to one, they all do, which might not be a bad way to do it. I can just kind of, in one quick motion, get everything going. And then once I've got the general colors I like, unlock it and move the ones that are a little bit too much in the blue spectrum over. And essentially I went from a warm color system that was all pretty much analogous, and I've taken it now into a analogous color system that's all cool. So once I've got my artwork recolored, simply just hit OK, and now we're good, and I've got this nice spring look. And you're going to do that, or you're going to choose however you do it. You don't have to do it that way at least 4 times, because I want 4 different color systems in this project. So cool, we've got these down. I'm going to go ahead and select all, copy, and then come over to the Willy Balance, and then make sure that I'm addressing the first artboard. You can zoom out to make sure you are, but you want to make sure that that's the one you're actually looking at. So if we remember, this first balance has to deal with perfect symmetry. So whatever I do to one side, I just need to reflect it and do it to the other side. So I'm going to show you how to design that way. This image is 13.5 inches. So I know that half of 13 is what, 7.5, right? Or no, that's 15. Sorry. So 6.5. Sorry about that. And then half of a half is going to be a quarter. So I do 6.25, or yeah, 6.5 plus 0.25, so 6 3/4 is going to be my halfway mark. Now there's a ruler here. I can pull that up by going to View, Rulers. Command R is a really nice just shortcut for that. So I'm going to go to 6 3/4, which is right there. The cool part about this, I dropped this guide, and now that guide sits on all of them. And so I'm kind of good to go here for my axis, so I know what balance I need to deal with. Alright, so I want to copy and paste, and I do pull these out here to the side, and I'll just pull them in as I need to. So this is ungrouped. I want to make sure that that doesn't act like a group anymore. Alright, so I need 7 objects in the design. In this case, all 7 of those objects need to live on the left-hand side, and then I'm going to reflect them onto the right-hand side. And you could do it either or. I'm just going to start that way. So we're going to play. We also want to think about hierarchy. So what's the big things that we're going to see? What's the little things that we're going to see? So I'm just going to start moving things in here and arranging them and resizing them. So I'm going to kind of work with this a little bit. Make that pretty big. While I'm resizing, I'm holding the shift button down so that I can constrain it. And I want to make sure that I put these in the right order. So I want this big shape to go in the background. So I can go to Object, Arrange, and then Send to Back. The shortcut for that is going to be Shift, Command, left bracket. And that'll send that object to back so that I can have that back there and then have this up here. Right now I'm kind of establishing a background, and I don't necessarily have to not cross this border, but what will happen as I reflect it is these shapes will kind of overlap. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm going to make them real close to one another, but not quite overlapping. I like this idea of it coming off here. I'm also paying attention to tangents. I don't necessarily want to touch these 2 objects so that there's a fused edge. I'm thinking about those kind of things because I want to be aware of that. I'm going to put this up here in the top corner. And then I really like this shape. I think it's nice. I had a little bit of a stolen edge tangent happening right there, so I just scooted it up. So for this one, I want to send that one to the back, so Command Shift left bracket. and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Oops. You want to hold shift every time you expand them so that you don't change the shape at all. Alright, this is looking pretty good. The last little bit, I'm just going to put this right up here in the top corner. Now, I don't want to send it all the way to the back, but I want it to be, actually I think it's okay right here, kind of behind this. I'm just going to move this down. Alright, that looks pretty good. I'm not too concerned about what's happening outside of this space. This is why we gave it that 2-inch space between them, so that this doesn't overlap this other piece here. So this is pretty much my shape. I'm realizing that I think I do want this on top, so I'm going to hit Command-Shift left bracket and bring this over a little bit. I think that'll make for a bit more interesting composition. And this is that play that you're going to be essentially going through and just figuring stuff out. Are there any tangents? Okay, I don't think I see any either, so just going to make this a little bit bigger because that negative space is a bit open. This one right here? Yep. You are correct, sir. Alright, so, oh, now I got another one right there. Cool. Good catch. Good eye. I think I want to just scoot this around just a little bit more. And I would hope that you're bringing in some similar considerations as you go through and resize your artwork, your different tracing here. Alright, so this is pretty good. I think I'm going to just go with it. I can always keep messing, but I like what we got going here. Alright, so this is what I want. What I'm going to do now is group all of these things together. So I'm going to use my black arrow, select across everything, and I want them to act as a unified group. So come up here to Object and Group. Alright, now that they're a group, I can duplicate them. Now there's a couple ways. I can copy and paste, and now I've got the second group. That's one way to do it. I find that's fine, but that's two different actions when I can just press and hold the Option button with my black arrow and move, and that will instantly create another group. The other thing I want to show you is notice how I'm moving my cursor up and down. I've got these other little ghosts. They haven't moved. When I let go, it will drop a new batch. But if I start to hold the Option button down, and I want them to be on the exact same line, what I'll do is I'll press and hold the Shift button as I'm moving them. So that's kind of a as you work action. And notice how it doesn't matter where I go, it'll either stay flat on that line, or it'll go to one of those 45s, or it would go vertical. So it kind of constrains the movement. Once I've got it pulled over here, that's good, but it's not symmetrical yet. What's happening is it's just duplicated. So I'm essentially making a pattern. What I need to do while I have them all selected is right-click, transform, and reflect. There's other ways to do this. There's a reflect tool, but by flipping them vertically, I just hit OK. And now I've got them symmetrically flipped so that I can just start to use my arrow keys. I can press and hold Shift, and then I'll bump it a little bit faster. And then I can play with the relationship of where these things are. And I want to make sure that they're on that the sides reflect. So I'll look at like negative spaces in the corner. It's not quite there yet. And I think that's pretty good. Just click away. Yeah, I think that's that. So we've got our symmetrical piece. For this, this is good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to basically take these same shapes and turn a symmetrical design into a radial design, which is going to be the third design, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Radial Balance is the third one. So I'm going to go ahead and select all of these, copy it, come on down to my third artboard. So I can do that by going right here. And then my third artboard by, let's see, by 8. So for For this one, I can drag it down, and right at the 4-inch mark is going to be my other ruler point, so I know that that's going to be my center axis. I'm going to go ahead and hit Command F, which is Edit, Paste in Front. It pastes it right in the exact same location that we wanted before, and so it puts it right where we want it. Now what we're going to do is, with this, I'm going to zoom out here, select everything, and hit Group. Just a side here, when you're dealing with your radial balance, what I'm doing is I'm just showing you how to create the radial balance. I'm not saying I want you to take your symmetrical balance exactly and turn it into a radial balance. I would much rather see you try something else up there. But all you have to do is really do a design in one corner and then rotate it 3 times, and that's going to do the trick. So this will be the design that I put up in the corner. So I'm just making the whole thing smaller. I want it to go over just a little bit there. Oops. Alright. Excellent. So I've got this. Now I'm going to go ahead and Option drag it straight down. And this time we'll do the transform, or the reflect, but we'll do it horizontally. So it pops in there. Get it to a place that I like. Okay. Right now I'm looking at the distance between these 2 leaves. So that looks nice. I can then reflect both of those. Okay. And I've got my 4 exactly mirrored objects. So this would be a radial balance. Everything is emanating from the center. So there we go. It's really easy once you've got the elements, but you need the elements to be able to do it. Alright, so we're almost done. Now what we need to talk about is getting these printed. So when we print stuff, we come up here, File, and then, well, you want to save things first, so I'm just going to go ahead and quick do a save here. Radial Balance, do it on your desktop so you can find it real fast. And then it's a CS5 file, that's fine. Alright, so when we go to print, File and Print, we have some options. Essentially, you want to make sure that it's set up so that your printer paper can fit this. Your printer, wherever you go, either down to the printing lab or to a place like Digicopy, is going to be able to set this stuff up. So to a certain extent, you won't need to mess with it, but I want to take you through what this would look like to make sure that you have it all set right. If you wanted to, say, print something like this at home, if you had a really nice printer. So the first thing that we need to do is deal with the page setup. Because right now, the document is 13 by 5 by 8, and then the paper is only 8.5 by 11. So page setup, yeah, that's fine. So in this case, we're stuck at US letter. Well, we want to go ahead and manage a custom size. And so we're going to add a new one. And so the paper width, 13 by 5, and then the paper height, 8. And there's a bleed. This is the non-printable area, and essentially this is the width of your printer's spool so that it can actually grab the paper and keep pushing it through. So typically it needs this much to grab it at the very top, and then on the sides. So hit OK, hit OK, and now the artwork is centered a little bit better. Still some problem at the bottom, but I don't want to mess too much with that. For now, you get the idea with that. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit Done instead of Print, and that would print out each of these copies. So that's basically it. The other thing I could probably help you out is saving it as a Adobe PDF that will allow you to be able to take this file and work with it, let's say you need to keep working on it in Adobe CS4 or CS3 or something like that, and you've made it in Adobe CS5. One of the things that is important is being able to work with this in multiple platforms. By creating a PDF, you'll be able to do that. Plus, it can go to PCs easier too. So that's how that all works. And that is that. Yeah. It'll be oversized and you'll cut it down. So you just grab a ruler and cut it down. So we'll talk about that a little bit. I think what we'll do, instead of just critiquing, oh, I gotta turn this off. Instead of just critiquing the entire time on Thursday next week, a part of it will be cutting and mounting, and then going from there. Okay. Stop.